Welcome back to the Bama Tailgate Show. Alabama and Auburn, night game, Jordan-Hare Stadium, Alabama with a ton on the line. And we're previewing that on today's show. So like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you're hanging with us on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. And if you're listening on radio, we appreciate you guys being here. Roll Tide, thank you for spending your game day with us. This segment with Chris Lowe is presented by Visit Sevierville. And I'm talking about Sevierville and the Smoky Mountains right now. Smoky Mountain Winterfest is on through February 16th. Millions of lights along the parkway in Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, and Gatlinburg. Guests can also enjoy special Winterfest attractions like Shadrack's Christmas Wonderland, which is an LED drive-through light show, which is really amazing. And then there's a bunch of stuff taking place through Sevierville during both Harvest Fest and Winterfest. And you can find out more information online at visitsevierville.com. And it is always great to talk to our friend Chris Lowe from On3, the guru of college football, a guy that always seems to know everything. Chris, Alabama and Auburn are playing, and this one means a lot to Alabama, and Auburn would love to ruin the season.
So do you think, like Nick Saban, Mick, do you really think that Jordan-Hare's haunted?
I don't know, man. I just think they're a good team at home. Now, some weird stuff does happen there. I call it Auburn Jesus. But you know what? The last few times Alabama's been there, they've found a way to win.
They have, and that's what it's about. And these games always are tough to win. I don't care if you're a top 10 team or you're a team that's limping to the finish. I mean, look at Auburn. Auburn's got an interim coach, and they seem to have found a little bit of juice under DJ Durkin. And you know that winning this game for that fan base, for that team, for that program, that university will be massive. And I got no reason to believe. I mean, look at the line. Vegas usually has a decent idea of what they're doing. What's that line, like 3.5 or 4? What was the latest one? Something in that, somewhere in that zone.
5.
And you know, I go back to those last, and you're right, Bama found ways to win each of their last 2 trips to the Plains, but both games were, I mean, gosh, it took almost miracles for Alabama to win. And I think, and here's the key. Now, what happened 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I mean, it doesn't really have a bearing on what's going to happen Saturday. But here's what I would say. I was at both those games. I spent a lot of time around those teams in those 2 years, and these 2 teams too. I think this is a more talented Auburn team, Mick, than the one 2 years ago and the one 4 years ago, with a defense that certainly has held its own for much of this year, and some weapons on the outside that Auburn's finally starting to use on offense. So this is a better football team than what Alabama played against 2 years ago in Jordan-Hare and 4 years ago. And it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Alabama has typically been able to come back from tough losses. Now, I know they didn't lose last week, but 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But this is sort of the, if we want to do a referendum on Kalen DeBoer and his time, almost 2 years now at Alabama, these are the kinds of games that I think have scared Bama fans the most, that they've gone in against teams that they should beat, teams that they're favored against, teams on the road that they haven't always gotten it done. And so here's another chance for Bama to prove that they're past that, because think about the difference in losing this game and winning it for Alabama.
Right.
You win it, you got a chance to win an SEC title and be a top 4 seed in the playoff. You lose it, you're going to be watching the playoff from home. And that's a pretty wide discrepancy. And you know what the offseason will be like, the climate in and around Tuscaloosa, if the Tide don't win this football game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that this one feels to me like if you lose and all of a sudden now you faded the last 2 seasons, and it kind of has, a little bit of a stench to the direction that things are going. You win, and hey, you know what? Like, you got everything you want in front of you. Go to Atlanta, and you can beat anybody in the country. When you go to Alabama, you know that playing at Auburn is something that you're going to do. And if you play 4 years, you're going to do that twice. The good thing for Alabama is they've won back-to-back games. Deuce Knight looked pretty impressive running around for Auburn last game, but it was against Mercer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at this Alabama and Auburn matchup, what are the things that you look at and feel like Bama is going to have the advantage, and then maybe what they wouldn't have the advantage?
This is where I'll start. What they can't put it all on Ty Simpson's shoulders. They just can't. And this defense is good enough. DJ Durkins is a good enough defensive strategist that they're going to figure out ways to come after him and do different things, disguise things, and not let him throw the football for 380 yards and beat him. They're going to make other people beat him. So I think that's the first thing. If you ask me what's important in this game for Alabama, is getting some other guys, running the football better. I know we've talked about that ad nauseum on your show, and trying to get other people. And listen, Ryan Grove's done a nice job on key play calls this year.
Mm-hmm.
I can count, 3 or 4 that has probably made the difference in them winning and losing ball games. But I think more than anything, it's just not asking Ty Simpson to stand in there and throw the football 40-plus times and just really not have much else to your repertoire offensively. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is being able to get up, make things happen early, and get Auburn sort of on its heels. Don't give them a chance to get that crowd in the game. It's a night game. You go into the second half, it's anybody's game. At that point, Mick, there's a lot more pressure on Alabama than there is Auburn to win this football game. You don't want to give them what I would call house money in the second half. And I think thirdly, and we don't talk about this enough, Bama has got to, and I'm not going to pick just on the field goal kicker,
Mm-hmm.
but they've got to win special teams. When I say win special teams, make some field goals, don't give up a lot in return yards, you don't have any snafus in special teams, snaps, that type of thing. Those things typically in rivalry games on the road sometimes can make the difference in winning and losing. So those would be the 3 areas that I would point to.
Yeah, kicking game's been bad. Kicker got booed last week, missed field goal. And this is a tough place to kick, so Alabama's probably going to go for it more on 4th down than they would if they felt like the kicker was reliable. We act like Alabama got blown out by Oklahoma. They barely lost. They made mistakes, but they barely lost the game. They could have easily won that. They've gone through this really tough schedule. And yet, they're behind Notre Dame in the standings, and Notre Dame hasn't played anybody. Like, they've played a Sisters of the Poor schedule. Like, they have not even an eighth of a tough a schedule as Alabama played. They played Texas A&M and lost. They played Miami and lost. Everybody else they've played at a one-ranked team. Bama's played all these tough games, 4-1 against ranked teams. Were you surprised at all that Notre Dame's getting this much respect?
No, because it's sort of been a moving target the last few years, the committee's rankings and all the different things they look at, the metrics. To me, the head-to-head should rule the day.
Right.
To me, the team that's got the biggest gripe is probably Miami. You look, they're behind Notre Dame, and they beat Notre Dame. So football's different, man. In baseball and basketball, you play each other a ton of times in those sports. You don't in football. You usually play one time, and that should count, to me, double. If you beat a team head-to-head during that season. And for whatever reason, that hasn't been the case. I do agree Alabama's a more battle-tested team, not just in Notre Dame than a lot of teams. Now, ultimately, what's going to count is what the committee's final rankings look like.
Yeah.
Who are in those final rankings? I don't think Missouri's going to be in there. But you look at, say, Tennessee and Auburn are both probably going to be top. Certainly if Tennessee beats Vandy, I say Auburn, Tennessee and Vandy, then they're both probably going to be top 20 teams that Alabama would have wins over. And I think that's got to count for something. So, I think Bama's got a gripe, but I think probably a lot of teams do. And that's what's frustrating to fans and administrators and coaches is it seems to be different every year, maybe even from week to week,
right,
on what they're looking for. I really think bad losses quote unquote bad losses, because I don't think Oklahoma's a bad loss. Florida State's a bad loss.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways that's continued to haunt Alabama, even though that was the first game of the year.
Yeah.
But it seems, Mick, I don't know about you, man, that bad losses sometimes outweigh good wins.
Yeah, that's the problem to me, though. I mean, like, if you want teams to go out and play a tough schedule, you want to have good games week in and week out. And the SEC's done that. I mean, just look at some of the matchups that you're getting each week. You can't penalize these teams for going out there and losing. I mean, you're going to lose. If you want an NFL type schedule, the NFL, nobody goes undefeated, and it's like, I'm adamantly disagree with the committee in this well, they didn't lose. Yeah, but look, you didn't play anybody. Like that to me should matter more, but you're right. It doesn't. They look at a loss, said like 2 losses. Well, your season's over. But what if you played, a great team every week? Doesn't mean that that the other team that didn't lose is better than you. It just means that they didn't play as tough a schedule. Scheduling matters.
Yeah,
and I don't think the SEC should play these. They should play easier games if that's the case.
Well, and it's going to change next year too. Let's not forget the league goes to non-conference games next year.
Right.
So there's going to be 8 more losses automatically. And if you're, Bama, I think, is it 2 years Bama plays Ohio State, correct?
Don't they start
playing Ohio State in 2 years?
Yeah.
So if you're Alabama, let's just use Alabama hypothetically. In 2027, Bama's going to play 9 SEC games and Ohio State. There's a lot of teams in the country that are going to lose. If that's the case, they're going to lose 3 games. I'm not saying Bama will lose 3 games, but 85-90% of your teams are probably going to lose in that type of schedule. There's a decent chance they're going to lose 3 games. And does that mean if you play that type of schedule and you're still a really good football team that you're going to get squeezed over above someone who's got 1 or 2 losses but plays an easier schedule? That's why I think it's so hard. There's just no apples to apples in college football. And that's why I remember Roy Kramer told me years ago, the former commissioner of the SEC, the BCS godfather, that we're going to be having these arguments for years to come. And that was 15 years ago. Well, guess what? We're still arguing. What is the best way to decide the national champion in football?
Right.
The postseason has evolved and evolved and evolved. It will continue to evolve. They're now trying to decide whether they're going to stay at 12 teams or go to 16 teams.
Right.
I don't know what the answer is. The Big Ten has floated out 24 teams in a playoff.
I wouldn't care anymore. I mean, now that it's open.
Well, I mean, and what's that do to the regular season? I don't know. I would say this is the second year of the 12-team playoff. And I don't know that we've had enough time to assess. Is there enough of a body of work to really assess what that means? The human element is always, though, going to produce weird results. Anytime there's some subjectivity involved, which clearly there is with a committee, you got people that see through different lenses on that committee. You got former coaches, you got commissioners, you got a former media person, you got, all sorts of people. And the way they vote, the way they see football teams from year to year, guys and gals come on, guys and gals leave that committee, it's going to change. So is there a way to make that committee a third and use metrics and or computer polls? I know everybody says, well, I like the kid Greg Sankey. I said, Greg, why don't we just go back to the BCS?
Right.
He gets a big kick out of that because you remember the narrative when it was the BCS, we got to get away from all these computers and let people use more of the eye test. Well, now that we're using the eye test, nobody's happy with it. So
no. Well, the eye test is biased, though, man. Like,
well, yeah, and it changes.
This is.
It changes. I mean, let me put you and me and 5 other people on that committee, and we may watch teams and games and look at results and look at metrics and who's got the best offensive line, who's the healthiest, et cetera, and we may all come up with different answers.
Yeah.
I will say this, and I know I'm being repetitive here. To me, the number one factor, if everything else is reasonably close, should be head-to-head competition. That's where we should start.
We can't argue with that.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
right?
where we should start.
Yeah. Great rivalry matchups in the SEC. You know, we talked Alabama, Auburn. The game, it means a lot because Alabama's always in the mix for a playoff, an SEC championship. You know, and Auburn's always firing their coach, and, you know, there's always drama down there. At least it's been that way. But still, the game's going to be interesting and fun. And then, you know, Texas and Texas A&M finally back at it again after missing, you know, all those years. And you get, this is what you brought them both into conference for. I mean, this one's not, I don't know if Texas has a shot to make the playoff, but if they win, maybe they do, right?
I'm trying to think of a scenario. Who would be the best equipped 3-loss team to make it in? Maybe it's Texas.
Well, if they beat Texas A&M.
I was going to say, because they would have a win over Texas A&M to end the season, a top 2 or 3 team in the committee's rankings.
Well, so, and they also have a Manning as their quarterback, and there's a lot of money there in Texas, and it's a huge brand.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm trying to think who else in the country even would. I mean, Notre Dame loses, which they're not going to. They're definitely out. Yeah. So they're not getting in at 3 losses.
I wish Bama played the Notre Dame schedule.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of people probably would say that. I think a lot of teams in the SEC would say that they like to play Notre Dame schedule. And sometimes, you know, it's these teams are the teams they schedule are better, and that schedule's made several years in advance than what you think they're going to be. Sometimes they're worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Syracuse is a great example of that. Syracuse had a pretty good football team last year. They're terrible this year.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yep.
And you know, Florida State's a great example if you want to use Alabama. Florida State was on the cusp of being in the playoff in 23. Well, they haven't been the same since that year.
Mm-mm.
You know, sometimes you just can't say. But no, I think a lot of schools would say, I would like to play Notre Dame's schedule. I will say this, and this is the old eye test argument. I was in Pittsburgh last week, watched that game. You know, Pitt comes in this past week and handles Georgia Tech pretty well on the road. I'll be interested in seeing what happens between Tech and Georgia and Atlanta on Friday. But the Notre Dame team I saw in Pittsburgh is pretty good.
Yeah.
And they look legit. They've got everything you need to make a run. And they made one last year, and I think this team probably is about as good. Now, does that mean they should get in over this team or their resume is better than that team? I'm not saying that. I think it goes back to the eye test. You know, when you start saying, well, who are the best 12 teams in college football? Really, it's not the best 12 because you got 5 spots that are wrapped up, the 4 conference champions in the group of 5. So it really gets down to who are the 7 after that, who are the 7 best. I would say Notre Dame is one of the 7 best, but also would say Alabama certainly, if they win, they're going to get anyway.
Yeah.
Here's the one thing.
If Bama wins, do they? And if they beat Auburn, they're in either way.
I don't think there's a scenario, even if they were to go to the championship game and lose, that they don't get in. I don't think. I think the committee has sort of. We'll say there's a precedent, but I don't think have we seen a team that was in go to their championship game, even in 14. I'm trying to think. 14 probably it's not a good example because there's only 4 teams that plays. I guess Georgia, you know, in 22 or 23, right? Georgia won 29 straight games.
Yeah.
Bama beats them and they stay at home. In the championship, they beat them in the conference championship game. I would hope, and I'm confident in a 12 team that a school, again, using Alabama as a hypothetical, if they get to the conference championship game and they do lose the 3rd game, that's not going to keep them out. So, yeah, I think they're in if they win. And, you know, I know this. You know who's rooting hard for Auburn and hard for Mississippi State is Vandy.
Yeah.
They're rooting really hard for those schools. And they're rooting hard for Oklahoma to lose to LSU, which I don't think is going to happen. But Vandy's a team that may well get squeezed at 10-2 if they beat Tennessee because they're going to need some help to get in.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I'll tell you the other interesting thing is, and I've used before. Well, let me tell you guys, we're brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi, the Azaleas, the Oaks, 2 amazing golf courses at Dancing Rabbit. It's the Augusta you can play. We've had some pretty good weather this week, and you know, it'd be a great time of year to get out and golf. And it's, like I said, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa. I was just there last week with Coker. Had a great time. I've been keeping an eye on, they're from Philadelphia, Mississippi. This thing going on in Oxford, Mississippi with Lane Kiffin. Very interesting. The entire Lane Kiffin saga, right? Like, and I kind of feel like he's a victim of the way that things are set up right now, right? If he wants to go get another job, it's going to happen like soon. And his team's got to play a game against Mississippi State. That's the Egg Bowl. And if they lose, they're not going to make it. And you wonder, like, how much, what the distractions are like. Jeff Levy's team's been right on the verge of 3 big upsets this year. 2 big upsets. They would beat Florida on the road, but Tennessee and Texas. And then just this whole thing. So let's hold off on talking Lane coaching, and let's just start with the game itself.
Yeah.
I think that this is a potential upset game. I just have this gut feeling about it just because of all the distractions.
Yeah, and so many crazy things have happened over the years in the Egg Bowl. As you know, it's an 11 o'clock Central game start. Yeah. Those are always weird. It's going to be cold, over and above the distractions. And because, listen, 19, 20-year-old kids, man, you can say all you want. Hey, we've had good practices. They've been focused. But you know what they're talking about when they get back to the dorm. And instead of studying, are they thinking about what my coach is going to be doing, or how does that impact me? Am I going to transfer? It's a different world.
Yeah.
Nick. I mean, those kids, hey, if he's not going to be here, I need to start talking to my agent, start laying the groundwork where I go somewhere. I'm poised to go somewhere. So those type of thoughts are going through kids' minds now that wouldn't have been 5-6 years ago. So I don't think this is a healthy situation at all for that Ole Miss program as they go into Starkville. And I do agree with you. Jeff Levy, they really outplayed Tennessee and got beaten overtime. Tennessee had 2 defensive touchdowns. Texas was dead. I mean, they had Texas beat. They returned the punt and win right there at the end of the game. They're in Starkville. This is probably, when you look at State's schedule this year at home, they probably had the toughest home schedule in football.
Yeah.
They played Arizona State at home. They played Texas at home. They played Georgia at home. They played Tennessee at home, and now Ole Miss at home. I don't think anybody else in the country's had a harder home schedule than they have. And they're sort of due. And Levy is sort of well-versed. I think you could say it both ways. He knows Lane Kiffin. They work together. They're at Ole Miss. Knows his tendencies. He worked with Charlie Weiss, who calls plays.
Mm-hmm.
They're at Ole Miss. So these are 2 staffs. There shouldn't be a lot of secrets between them. So I think this has got a chance to be a compelling football game. I saw that line has already moved quite a bit.
Yeah.
In favor of Mississippi State. It's one of several games this weekend, Mick. When I look at this schedule, this Thanksgiving weekend schedule, I've said it, I continue to say it. I think it's the most compelling I can remember as far as the stakes that are out there.
Yeah.
The impact, yay and nay for a lot of different teams that we've seen. And I include everybody from Vandy, Tennessee to Texas A&M, Bama, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech. You can go on and on. Ohio State, Michigan. Pray tell, what happens to poor old Ryan Day if they somehow lose again to Michigan?
Wow.
You talk about starting all over again. So I don't think that's going to happen. But Michigan's had their number. And again, that's another game this weekend. When we start thinking about games that really mean something that last week of the season, there's a ton of them to tune in on this weekend.
Yeah. So let's talk Lane Kiffin. So looked like he was going to go to Florida. I think everybody thought he was going to go to Florida. And then all of a sudden, now everybody thinks that he's going to go to LSU. And I say that when I bring up Kalshi.com, use promo code Bama Tailgate, $10 when you sign up with the code and trade $100. Because Kalshi, like this is what they do. They basically, it's an exchange market of anything, right? Like, so it could be politics, sports, culture, crypto, climate, economics, all that stuff, right? Whether the Thanksgiving turkey will be pardoned on Thursday by Trump, just anything. But the Kiffin stuff has been really fun to kind of follow on there because it's been crazy how the markets have jumped so much, Chris. Like before it was like Florida was over 60%. That people were, basically exchanging that they thought that he was going to go to Florida. Now LSU's over 60%, but Florida's picking up some momentum, and there's even a market on whether he stays. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, and I think it's sort of vintage Lane. Lane loves drama. I think I won't say revels in chaos, but I think he's comfortable. A lot of us aren't comfortable. I'm not comfortable in chaos. I don't know about you, but I think he is. I think he's. Now, I will say his press conference on Monday, his weekly press conference, he looked really uncomfortable. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. Clearly, he wasn't going to answer any questions about his future, coaching future. At this point, we've gotten to this point, I wouldn't say I would blame him, but it's at a point now where the Ole Miss brass has made it very clear to him, listen, you're with us or you're not. We'll coach this game, and if you're not, we're moving on. I've known Lane long enough to know that I'm not going to guess. People ask me all the time, where do you think he's going? I'm not going to predict because he is unpredictable.
Right.
He is impulsive. And I think there's still some doubt in his mind what he's going to do. I could see this scenario. I'm not predicting it. I could see them going to Starkville and winning an emotional, tough win in the locker room after. The kids are emotional locker rooms. You've been in those kinds of locker rooms. Yeah. And they're chanting and they're yelling and they're singing, Coach, man, we got to finish this thing out. Let's go win a natty. And it just, like with a lot of coaches, it gets to him and he says, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
I'm signing. I'm staying at Ole Miss. I don't put that past that happening. I'm not saying it will, but that's why I am saying, Mick, that I'm not predicting. If someone said if he leaves, where's he going to go? I would say, yeah, probably LSU. But I know in talking to people in Florida, they're still quietly confident that they're going to get him. Here's the last thing I would say about this.
Yeah.
I think the thing that has eaten the most at Lane is, again, like a lot of coaches, and I certainly see Ole Miss's side of this. He wants to coach this team as long as he possibly can. This is a historic season for them. I think he feels like he's got a team that can make a real run in the playoff and not really commit anywhere. Well, I'm not saying it's wrong of him to think that way, but it ain't. That's impossible. It won't happen. Ole Miss is not going to sit there and say, "Hey, you can keep coaching. You can hang around our building for 3 or 4 more weeks,
right?"
And then when you're done, say, "Oh, here's the keys. I'm going to LSU."
Right.
You got to protect yourself if you're Ole Miss, and that's what they're going to do. But I think that's the thing that eats at Lane Kiffin the most, because he knows down deep that if he does leave his team on the precipice of a first ever playoff berth, that will live with him forever. You will never, ever get that. What do you want to call it? Scarlet letter?
Yeah.
You'll never, ever get out from under that.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. And the market, as we sit right now, 61% of the almost $2 million that are being exchanged, Lane Kiffin to LSU. But the crazy thing is that, like you said, like the Gators, it's still around 40% and going up that he's going to end up there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just a crazy situation, How do they fix this?
Wherever he ends up, I'll go out on a limb here, Mick. Wherever Lane ends up, to quote Ed Ogeron, I think he'll have enough money to buy a hamburger.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to make some money. The sad thing is, it's kind of reminds me of 2016, when he was Alabama's offensive coordinator, and he gets another job, and basically they ran him out of town because it was like, normally you'd have these guys and they would sit there and work and get you through the season and you'd win a championship and then they'd go, but it didn't happen with him, I mean, I guess he repaired his relationship with Coach Saban now, but at this time it's his team. Right. If he walks away from it, it's his team. I mean, this is the team that he built. This is a team that he went out and picked all the players that he taught how to play. I get the money part of it, and also understand too that you got a better chance of winning a national championship at LSU and Florida because they've both done it lately, and Ole Miss hasn't done it since like the late 50s, right?
Yeah.
But man,
It's not
it's a
money
different
though. It
world
won't.
now.
Yeah, Ole Miss. Listen, Ole Miss is going to pay Lane whatever it takes. They've
Right.
made it clear. They've upped their offer. They've proven that they're going to give him money to invest to build a roster.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to lose out because they're going to shortchange him in salary or NIL money.
Right.
It'll be because of what you just said, that he thinks, whether you believe him or not, and I understand every fan base thinks they've got the best job. Why would you leave for that job from this job? But he thinks that he could go to LSU or go to Florida and year in and year out have a better chance to build a roster that's capable of winning a national title on a yearly basis.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I would say at Ole Miss that makes it a little bit harder is while they will invest and they've proven they'll pay tons of money to get big-time players in the portal, it's hard to do that year after year after year. Sooner or later, you're going to miss on some of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're in LSU or Florida, you got a better chance to build a base through recruiting in your state than you do at Ole Miss. That doesn't guarantee anything, but it probably makes it a little bit more doable. And as you said, between those two schools over the last, 20 years, they've won a combined 5 national titles.
Yeah, that's true. And they're always in the mix. Do you know Lita Ford and Dee Snider from Twisted Sister and Firehouse? You remember those bands?
Oh, absolutely. You're dating me now, man.
Yeah. Well, they're going to be at Pearl River Resort on December 27th, 8:00. If you want to go, Chris, I got tickets for you. You guys can go. It's at the center stage. It'll be fun. I kind of went back and listened to these groups because of this promotion. I'm like, man, I think there's some banging songs, and it's a good place to watch concerts there. So Thanksgiving, you ready? You got what's your plans for Turkey Day?
Yeah, well, I'll eat here with the family, the house, and then head out that night to navigate my way to Starkville, Mississippi.
Man.
And do you know anybody that's got any hotel rooms in around Starkville? I can't find any, man.
Pearl River, I can get you in Pearl River.
Can't find one, man.
Yeah.
Closest I can find is Tuscaloosa.
Really?
Yeah.
This Egg Bowl's got a lot of drama, man. I like the fact that it's on Friday too. It gives you it's that Friday and Saturday are going to be just off the chart when it comes to games.
Yeah, well, you could have 2 games, just the 2 we've talked about. A&M and Texas play that night. The one scenario we didn't even talk about. So what if Ole Miss wins? Okay, later that night, Texas upsets A&M, and then you go into the next day, and Auburn upsets Bama. Guess what? Ole Miss is in the championship game.
Yeah, that's not a crazy scenario.
So you could be talking about another week potentially of the Lane Kiffin watch, which I don't believe Ole Miss would let that drag out past that.
Right. So you think that they'll wait until after all the games? You think Lane
Saturday?
Will wait
I think they're going to announce it Saturday. Either he's gone or he's coming back. I don't think they'll let it play out.
Yeah,
much longer.
Well, if he leaves, what happens?
All those kids on that team, several coaches on that team, including Lane, have kids who are playing for Oxford High, and they played the state semifinals that Friday night in Tupelo.
Jeez.
So maybe I'll end up in Tupelo at the
that's crazy.
high school playoff game.
Yeah. Not like everything's happening in Mississippi right now. Great concerts and drama, big football games. It'd be so interesting to see how this is going to turn out. So Auburn, you figure what it'll be. A lot of people feel like it's going to be John Summerall there. Could DJ Durkin get that job? I mean, is there any chance?
I think he could. I think Summerall is the odds-on favorite. His wife went to school there. He's from that state. There's a lot of things. I know that John Cohen, the AD, has talked to a lot of people, but he's talked to a lot of people about Summerall. The one snag is if Lane doesn't go to Florida, Florida's got to hire somebody. And I think Summerall would be on their list too. Clark Lee's another one, and Vanderbilt,
Right.
I think, would be on Florida's list. So, yes, I do. Right now, as we sit here today, I do think Summerall will be Auburn's next coach.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Well, we'll find out. Got a lot going on. Chris, tell everybody what you're working on and how they can check out Chris Lowe.
Yeah, well, I've sort of already teased it. I'll have stuff from Starkville on Friday and from the Plains on Saturday, and I'd say multiple things from Sunday. We got decision Saturday, so a lot coming up. And then, of course, we go into then conference championship week, so there'll be a lot of travel, and look forward to having a lot of good subject matter to write about. That's what it's all about, Mick.
Yeah. Yep. Well, appreciate you, Chris, as always. Hopefully we'll be talking to you next week, right? Maybe for an SEC championship game.
Look forward to
That'd
it.
be great.
Man. I always look forward to this.
Yeah. But I fingers are crossed. But thank you, guys. Don't forget that New Life Art is a great partner of ours. Use our promo code Bama Tailgate, 20% off at purchase. And don't forget that we have some great new prints, including the crispy screen that our friend Shank's going to tell you about. We're also brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi. We were just there filming a new commercial with our friend Jay Coker. The sports book's open. You don't have to go all the way out to Vegas to make your picks count. Bama, that line's 5. How you feeling? I think you take Bama and feel pretty good about it. I think Bama's going to play a really good game. I just got a gut feeling about that. Hopefully I'm not wrong. But we'll find out. But anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you to Pearl River Resort, and happy Thanksgiving, Chris.
You too, man.
I may not suit up on Saturdays anymore, but I'm still in the game.
Let's roll.
In here, I call the plays, make adjustments, and lay it on the line. Want to feel that fire, that rush? Then you've got to get in the game. I used to say it in the tunnel, and I still say it now. Let's roll.
In some places, football is a sport. In Alabama, it's a fine art. New Life Art is now accepting pre-orders for Daniel A. Moore's next Crimson Classic, the Crispy Screen, guys. What a name to commemorate the Fat Boys. This masterwork commemorates the screen pass to Caden Proctor that outsmarted Kirby and the Georgia defense. Proctor's catch and bulldog dozing run set up Ty Simpson's 3-yard touchdown just before the half, which was a big score for us, guys. Visit DanielMooreArt.com to see the artist's preliminary sketch and take advantage of a special pre-publication pricing for the Crispy Screen. Go ahead, get into that. Go get you one of those Caden Proctor prints. I'm super excited to get mine in because he's living a dream of all the Fat Boys. And go look up that Crispy Screen and get you one, guys.
We're presented by Bod Coach, and you can tell I'm slimming up over here, and it's because of Bod Coach. This is absolutely amazing. It's your personal trainer that is with you 24/7. So when I go to hotels or when I'm on the road, I type in, "Hey, look, I got equipment. This is what I have," and it'll make a workout specifically for me, what I want, what exercises I want. When I'm at home or I'm at a hotel and there's no way I can get to the gym, it'll say, "Hey, this is what I want to work on today," and it sends you personalized workout plans. It's really awesome. And they contacted me a few weeks ago to be a spokesman. I said, "Well, I want to try this." Bod Coach is fantastic. Like, I use it all the time. I mean, and if I'm telling you, man, like, it makes working out when you are on the go like me so much better. Just because I don't always know I didn't play football at Alabama. I didn't have Scott Cochran yelling, yeah, and telling me what workouts to do. So anyway, I'm going to put in the body on the YouTube all about Bod Coach. Get you guys signed up there, but tell them you heard it on Bama.
When you head to the Smoky Mountains, it's only natural to visit Sevierville.
Even we had to check it out.
And we've been here our whole lives.
Experience the adventure of a lifetime.
I'm king of the world.
Even you can get a bird's eye view of the Smokies.
You're going down, Billy. Whoa.
Your Smokies start here.